to the Multifamily Marketers Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Grillo, co-founder here at Resident 360, and I'm also joined by my co-host, Caroline Mills. Caroline, how are we doing this morning?
Hey, Josh. Having a good Friday. Hope you are too.
I love it. Yep, excited for the weekend for sure. So today on the podcast, we're going to talk about something that's not regularly discussed. We're talking about domains. And really, more importantly, how to choose the right domain for your property website. Now, we've been in the website business now at Resident 360 for just over 15 years. So we have a little bit of experience, I would say, in choosing domains for apartment websites, property websites. And Caroline, I know you have some deep experience when it comes to property domains as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
So our goal over this episode is really to talk about where to register your domains, right? So what company you're going to use for domain management, how you're going to manage those domains, and also more importantly, what domain name should you choose for your property? So with that said, Caroline, are you ready to jump into action?
Let's jump in.
All right, let's take it right from the top.
Yeah.
I've got a brand new property. It's called, I'm just going to pull a generic name out there. Let's call it Estancia. I've got a brand new property. It's in a small area, small neighborhood here in San Diego. Property is called Estancia, and I've got to find a domain, right? I'm ready to get going on that front. I want to get a landing page up for this property or a full website. Where should I start? What's the very first thing I should do to start brainstorming or looking or thinking about a domain?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so you've got your property name. You're ready. I always say that's the first step to help you kind of brainstorm what you're looking for. The next is deciding where are you going to buy that domain. So before you can even start searching what names are available, you have to decide who you're going with. A very popular one in the industry is GoDaddy, but you've got a lot out there. Your company may already be working with one or you may not. There's Google Domains, there's Bluehost, DreamHost, Name.com. There's a lot of them out there. GoDaddy is just a pretty popular one that most people are familiar with. And that's the very first part, deciding where you want to go. From there, then that's where you get kind of into the creative searching for your URL aspect and seeing what's out there and what's available.
Okay, so GoDaddy sounds like that's the one of choice. I know that's what we use here at Resident 360, and I know that's what a lot of companies out there use. So when it comes to actually, and this used to be one of my favorite things, is going on GoDaddy and just searching for domains, right? And when you find one that's available, it's like you hit the lottery, right? It's like so freaking exciting when you get a domain that's available, specifically if it's a good one, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about this for a second. Let's dive a little bit deeper. So my property is called Estancia. So I'm going to look for this domain, right? And I guess one of the things I could do to speed things up is I could probably just go over to ChatGPT and ask for it to give me a list of creative domains around my property name. It'll probably spit those out, and then I could go and then type those into GoDaddy to see what they have available. But when we're choosing a property domain or property URL, how much attention do we want to pay to the SEO aspect of it?
I like that you mentioned using the tools with it too, because that is a good point. You could use a chat or an AI tool to help you with one, like you said, creative naming, but then two, any SEO aspects of it. I think there's a few, and it can depend on, I know you said Estancia, we're in this smaller neighborhood maybe in San Diego, is deciding what are you around and what are you selling to make it make sense. Like if you are apartments, but truly if you're advertising as apartments, but truly you're only townhomes, maybe you need to be including townhomes in a domain option. Or if you are in a very popular neighborhood area, maybe you include that in a URL option. I think this is leading into a good point. We were kind of discussing about this beforehand, is you can buy more than one. I think when you are brainstorming on different things, having an arsenal of maybe a few that cover you, they can all always direct to the same property website. So if you had Estancia, Mayfair Hills or whatever the, neighborhood is called. Then you could also have that as a domain. You can also have Estancia Townhomes as a domain, maybe Estancia Apartments. It really depends on what your property is. And then I think it's personal preference. I've seen some brands or people in the space that always do live, whatever it is, before their apartments. So live Estancia, live Main Street, whatever it may be. And then I see other ones who always put APTS only. Like they only ever put estanciaapts.com. So maybe your brand maybe has something it needs to stay consistent with, but you can take it into your SEO account. I would just say you can do that to add to it, but I know we're going to dive in deeper into some other episodes on more that goes into your SEO. So we don't want people, to just say, oh, well, I've got apartments in it, I'm good to go. That's what Google will know I am. It will help, but there's definitely can be parts of it.
So ideally, I think when I'm thinking about like my first choice, let's talk about first choice, second choice, third choices. I'm all about that. So if I have Estancia, I think if I can get estanciaapartments.com because they are apartments, that would be the ideal.
I like that one.
Now, the word Estancia spelled out, it's kind of long. The word apartments is kind of long. So it's kind of a long domain, but it is what it tells us Google exactly what it is. It is Estancia, that's the name, and their apartments, right? So there's definitely going to have SEO value there versus just the words live Estancia.
Yeah, or Estancia.com.
Yeah, or exactly, or discover Estancia. Even probably better than estanciaapts.com, short spelling for apartments, obviously, right? So ideally, estanciaapartments.com, first choice always. And I recommend that to people. I say, if you can get if your apartment name is short, if it's singular or not 2 words or 3 words, and the word apartments is available, definitely get that. For sure, get that. Should be number one choice because keep in mind, it does have the value, the SEO value of the word apartments in that URL structure, which is great.
Yeah, I like that you called out the part about multiple names in it too, especially if you're short. If you are, Highland Hills at the Parkways Southeast, then you can kind of do some restructuring. But I think that's a great call out if you've got a short name for your community, especially.
Now, I think if you're in these areas that are these geographic kind of neighborhood locations that are kind of hip and hot, and you got a lot of search volume there because there's a lot of restaurants and stuff like that. If your name is short, and in some of these cases, these urban properties, they do have a lot shorter names, like a Soho.
Yeah,
right? It's a very short name. But you can actually capitalize on the actual specific neighborhood, right? So it could be like SohoNorthPark.com, right? Which all of a sudden now you've got the property name plus you got the location in it, right? If you can have the word apartments as well, sure. Going to read a little bit long. So you just got to be careful, right? It is a balancing act. I mean, I truly think it's a balancing act, right? From do you want it short and sweet or you want this really long domain?
Yes.
And keep in mind, when you have really long domains, think about your signage, right?
Yeah,
Business
your merch,
cards, all your collateral. Everything you do, you're going to have a domain on it, right? Unless you switch it out with a QR code, but still, you're going to have domains out there. And if it's your main domain, just really, really, really pay attention to the length. Shorter is definitely better in all cases for promotional purposes and being on business cards and signage and all that. But, if it can be the apartment name followed by the word apartments.com, I think that would be ideal first choice. If that's just way too long, it looks long, it reads long, then maybe it's, live followed by your apartment community name, which, that's also a good one, or live at with your apartment community, live at estancia.com, right? Which are, kind of has a nice call to action in it, a nice ring to it. So I like those style domains, right? So if I can't get my property name with the word apartments, even if it's long, I'm going to buy it just so I have it. Nobody else can secure it. So everybody think about that for a second, just kind of a protection measure. Just if you can get your property name with the word apartments, maybe you don't use it. Doesn't matter. Buy it anyway to protect the name. That's how I would look at it. And as Caroline mentioned earlier in the show, you don't just have to buy one domain, buy multiple domains. I mean, they're fairly inexpensive these days. I think GoDaddy still charges right around $10 for the first year. So buy multiple so you have them, right? But obviously, when it comes to you putting domains out on all your signage and stuff like that, shorter is obviously the better way to go.
Josh, what are your thoughts on properties that do URLs where they have maybe like an underscore or a dash in the URL itself?
Can't stand
I
them.
can't either.
Honestly, I don't. Yeah, I think, yeah, I don't, I mean, I don't see a lot of those, to be honest with you. I mean, maybe more in the past. I mean, I'm sure they still come up, but yeah, I would really, really stay away from anything with a dash in it. I would stay away from all the other, .net, whatever it should be. You want .com.
Yes,
that's what
a
you
good
want,
call out.
right?
Yeah.
Just stick with the tried and true traditional .com domains. And there's plenty available out there. You just gotta get creative in your searching, right? If you're, don't feel let down, if you start searching, you're like, oh, my name and apartments isn't available. Specifically, if you've got a very common name, right? It's probably not going to be available. So, creativity at that point is really key. And you may have to get really creative if your apartment community names are very, very, very generic.
That's a good call out.
Just something to keep in mind. Now, branching off to that, let's talk about something that I think is, it can get a lot of companies in trouble, which is domain management. I mean, we've seen it so many times as a multifamily agency here with Resident 360. You have a multifamily company, and maybe they have 20 properties, and all those properties, let's just say they're on GoDaddy, but the person that actually the administrator or the person that's in charge of management of that, their email address is attached to it, and they're no longer with the company, right? Or there's a Gmail account that's attached to it, and they're no longer with the company, right? Trying to get ownership of those domains is very, very, very difficult. So, I mean, do you have any crazy stories when it comes to domain management, Caroline?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you do run into that issue of someone leaving. Now the sites are getting better. I know everyone says, like with the two-factor authentication, how it slows them down, or why do I need it on this? I promise it makes a difference, because we did have that before where we had somebody get locked out of even ever getting to get in it, and they were just trying to get it transferred over. And I mean, it takes the way it slows everything down and everything comes to a halt and you truly cannot do anything. Yes, of course, like what we ended up doing was going and buying another domain in the meantime, but it takes weeks. It is very, very hard to prove, because I mean, you wouldn't want someone doing that to you and just stealing your domain by saying they didn't have access to it. So it's very, very hard to prove once you need it and you're locked out. Do what you can as far as putting like backup emails, in there when you can. Use the two-factor authentication that your company has access to, whether that's like, through the authenticator apps or things like that. Try and do everything you can to ensure that is not tied to only one person. I have seen it happen more than people would like.
Oh, yeah, you and me both. Yeah, so I guess the rule here is don't overlook domain management.
Yes.
You really need to think about who is owning that in your company. It is so important. Absolutely. So I'm going to give you, I typed this up. I sent this out in my newsletter some time ago, but I want to just touch base on it really quick, because here's a little bit of a strategy you could use. So create a Google spreadsheet, add all your domains to that spreadsheet, add the renewal dates of those domains, and then add who owns the account and where that domain is registered. So, you may not have all your domains registered at GoDaddy. They may be at 3 different places, right? But if you don't have it all logged somewhere, it's going to be a problem, right? So spreadsheet, domains, the renewal dates, who owns those accounts and where those domains are registered, and make sure the contact person's email is there as well. And then share the spreadsheet with anyone that needs to be aware of it. And that's really, your most important part is making sure that you have the proper person as the administrator on those accounts. I cannot say how important that
100%.
is. The proper person in your company has to be managing your domains, somebody that you can trust, so that if something happens, you're able to get access from those domains.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, let's talk about really quick. Let's talk about domain transfers, kind of like what that works.
Yeah.
How long that takes. That can always be a topic of conversation. What's your experience there? You got any thoughts, Caroline?
Yeah, this is something you want to keep in mind. If you have a property transfer coming up, make sure you're staying in really good contact with that property, either you are transferring to or that you're getting a property from. Within these domain services, there are different times on how quickly a domain can transfer to you. I know you think like, oh, well, it's online, I might as well get it instantly, but that's not always the case. For example, if you were to go within a GoDaddy to GoDaddy transfer, it is pretty instantaneous. I would say maybe 10, 15 minutes. If you are to come from maybe a Bluehost to a GoDaddy or a GoDaddy to a name.com, those can take a lot longer because both sites are trying to authenticate that the transfer is happening, that it's available, transferring all the things with it. And typically you have to go through an additional authentication process with you and the person that you're transferring with. There's usually an additional code you have to pass along to each other. And keep in mind, some of those can take 5 to 10 business days for those to happen. So if your property is transferring on the 15th, don't wait to look this up until the 14th at 11:59 p.m. Make sure this is something we are looking at, well, I would say 2 weeks in advance minimum. As soon as you know you're transferring that property, look into this and see who and where it's transferring. That way you can work something out with the community. Like, hey, let's start this transfer 7 days early. We won't take the website down, but just so that it's in our account on takeover day. Some companies choose to not do this, but just keep in mind if you're not doing that, have a second domain ready. And same thing you were talking to earlier, like just buy another one as a backup if you need it. It'll only cost you $10. It means your website goes up on the day of takeover. Less of a headache, I promise, because I've been through it a few times.
Good points. Really good points. Okay, so let's. I think we're 17 minutes into the show here, and let's wrap this up. I want to do a quick summary just so everybody's fully aware. Number one, registration. Where are you going to register that domain at? I like GoDaddy. It's easy. It's simple. They've been around forever. Totally trust them. That's who we use here at Resident 360. When you're coming up with domain names for your property, just keep in mind SEO. Think about that in the back of your mind, right? Is it going to be the word apartments that's attached to your property name, or is it going to be the word apartments APTS that's attached to your property name, or is it going to be something that's shorter that's like live at your property name? So just keep that in mind. Understand that these domains, they're going to go on everything, right? They're going to be on all your promotional material, marketing material, your signage, you name it, they're going to be there. So shorter is definitely better. But again, just think about the SEO value and the SEO effect of it all. And last, domain management. Don't forget, you want to have somebody very trusted in your organization responsible for your domain names, transferring, renewals, all that good stuff. So with that said, Caroline, any parting thoughts?
I would say it's very important. Like you said, this is one of the first things that happens. Keep it in mind. It is the thing that keeps your websites up and running. So it is a small but mighty piece.
All right. Small but mighty piece. All right. I appreciate everybody listening today to the Multifamily Marketers Podcast. We will be back next week. We're diving deep into SEO, all things SEO. So we're going to be doing kind of an SEO beginner's class, if you would, SEO 101. So we're going to cover everything from on-page SEO, what it is, how it works, off-page SEO, link building, GEO as well. So come back next week and we'll get started into the world of SEO. Caroline, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, guys. Bye.